must be dropped here and now. Our lives can't go on like this. It's either them or us. Otherwise we'll see the same that's happened in Tunisia or Libya. At some point, the same will happen here.
It's the first mass protest this year. Coupled with a 24-hour general strike, public transport was grounded. Doctors and lawyers too, taking to the streets. Some planned a sit-in in front of Parliament, but were chased away by police. The protest had been largely peaceful before small crowds turned violent. The Greek Prime Minister said he understood the demands, but pleaded for the demonstrators to stop, as it wouldn't solve the debt problem. But one union leader says the measures are harsh and unfair, and if they continue, so will the protests. Stephanie Decker, Al Jazeera.
Now, the Israeli Air Force has launched an attack in the Gaza Strip. Medical workers said the airstrike wounded fighters from Islamic Jihad. Earlier on Wednesday, Israeli tank fire killed a Palestinian fighter and wounded 2 civilians. The Israeli military said they were responding to ground and rocket attacks. In Mexico, 2 people have been killed in a drive-by shooting in the resort of Mazatlán. The attack took place in a hotel car park. Many foreign tourists were in the area when it happened. Several cruise ship companies are cancelling their stopovers in the city. And tourism in Mexico's famous tourist destination of Acapulco is also suffering from a rise in violence. More people were killed last weekend as rival drug gangs battled on the streets. All this comes as the coastal city hosts a major international sporting event. Mariana Sanchez has more.
It is known as Mexico's Jewel of the Pacific, but the outlook is bleak. Violent incidents in Acapulco are increasing. 18 people killed over one recent weekend. Organizers of an international tennis tournament warned competitors to stay indoors when not playing.
We've been warned. I come from Argentina, also a dangerous place. I like this tournament and never hesitated to come. Obviously, I'm going to comply and keep myself at the hotel. We're all concerned about security, but can't stay at home because of it.
There is a heavy security presence in the city. There has been for several months. Tournament officials say they just want players and spectators to be careful.
We've gone around the tourism areas day and night and haven't had a problem. The violence is not against us, but one has to take precautions to avoid risks.
But tourism authorities are warning they could lose as much as 3/4 of their usual business from young Americans who take spring breaks here. The U.S. government has warned its citizens to avoid travel to 18 Mexican states, including Guerrero, where Acapulco is located. To counter these warnings, tourism authorities here launched a campaign called Speak Well About Acapulco.
I feel that unfortunately what happened here has been magnified. I'm not saying things don't happen, but things happen everywhere in the world.
Acapulco is still a magnet for Mexican tourists. Despite the risks these days, hotels, restaurants and nightclubs are packed on weekends. The increase in violence comes as turf battles between drug cartels intensify, each battling for control of the area.
For the most part, violent incidents happen here in poor suburbs. But in the latest confrontation among drug gangs where 18 people were killed, it happened right here. There's a lot of traffic and a lot of commerce.
The proximity to this area is a signal that the violence is spreading randomly to places where anyone could now be surprised in the crossfire. Mariana Sanchez, Al Jazeera, Acapulco, Mexico.
And of course you can follow that story and everything that we're covering, including the uprising in Libya, by logging onto our website at www.aljazeera.net/English. Blogs, reviews and reports there for you to look at and read 24 hours a day. I'll be back with more news shortly. Do stay with us.
China has a growing elderly population, and as a consequence of its one-child system, there are fewer younger people to take care of them. It's a responsibility that often falls to the state. Private retirement homes offer an alternative, but independence comes at a price, financially and emotionally. Faces of China, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Where there are stories to be told.
President Karzai.
No questions here. That's Al Jazeera. I know these guys.
where power is abused.
We've definitely found a black jail here. That door never opened again.
Where forces collide.
The dust of this conflict is far from being settled.
AlJazeera.
People talk about televising the revolution. It's tweeting the revolution, Facebooking the revolution, videotaping the revolution.
A new world driven by new media.
This is a very peculiar moment in media history.
Nobody can force me in 2011 to watch whatever I don't want to watch.
Analyzing the media's role in shaping modern history. The Listening Post, at this time on Al Jazeera.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download Al Jazeera's news widget from Nokia's Ovis store. The news widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
The frontline shifts in the battle for Libya. Reports say protesters are now in control of western areas very close to Tripoli. It's 06 GMT, that's 7 o'clock in the morning in Tripoli. I'm Sahil Rahman. You're watching Al Jazeera's continuing coverage of the uprising in Libya. The wreckage of a Libyan warplane is discovered. The crew ejected after refusing to bomb protesters.
The suffering and bloodshed is outrageous, and it is unacceptable.
Barack Obama steps up the criticism of the crackdown in Libya. And a lucky survivor, a woman pulled out of the rubble of New Zealand's earthquake. Hundreds more are still missing. Welcome to the programme. It's 0600 GMT. That's 8 o'clock in the morning in Libya, where protests are now moving into a second week. Muammar Gaddafi has lost his grip on power in the east, with protesters planning a push on the capital Tripoli. Here are the latest developments. President Barack Obama says the US is looking at a full range of options on how to deal with the crisis. Along with European and other nations, officials are considering economic sanctions and freezing the assets of the Gaddafi family. Oil production is reportedly down a quarter, with 400,000 fewer barrels being pumped each day. European and Chinese oil firms are pulling out their staff and halting some production. At least 26 nations have also begun efforts to get their citizens out of Libya and to safety. Turkey says it's mounted the biggest evacuation effort in its history, and as foreign citizens leave, Libya's economy